Welcome to the Realtor's Edge podcast, formerly the Agency for Agents podcast. We're here for real estate team leaders and independent brokerage owners looking to maximize profits, effectiveness, and gain freedom for their team and business. Your host, best-selling author, and managing broker Aaron Hendon has been running one of the most successful real estate teams in the Seattle area for more than 9 years. He knows building a winning team means finding ways to empower, nurture, train, and develop individual agents to discover their own power. On the podcast, Aaron interviews both thought leaders and successful team leaders to help impact both your performance and your teams. Welcome to the show.
Yay. All right. Well, Venus, it is great to have you here. I love our little conversation prior to the show, and I'm really, really anxious for you to share your story and to talk to the people listening, broker owners and team owners, because of, what you've been through. Now, you're really basically a single agent, not a team leader, which is unique for the show because mostly we interview team leaders, but this is great because you are a super high performing independent agent, and any team leader would love to have. I know I would love to turn my agents into high performers like that. I mean, just to be able to unleash that, whether they stayed with me or not. I don't think there's a team leader alive that doesn't, certainly not an effective team leader that's not here to empower people to win, like, to the degree to which you're winning. So I just think that's super exciting. And I really do want to, hear about you and your story and how you got to where you are. So why don't we just dive right into it? Okay. And, give it, you're here to actually share your story, and then I'll ask questions out of that. So tell us about your story.
Yes. So I got into real estate around 2009. And it was in the middle of the real estate crisis. Everyone was getting out of the real estate business. And in fact, I had just gotten my license, and I remember my divorce attorney telling me, Venus, in case you don't know it, all the good agents are getting out of the business and you need to get a real job. And I was open to doing that, but I've been through a lot of adversity in my life, and I wasn't willing to quit just because it was hard. And here's what I'll tell your new agents that are getting into the business. The best thing that ever happened to me was getting into this industry when it was a national real estate crisis. Yeah. Because it taught me grit and work ethic that is unparalleled. And, it's been pretty easy times the last few years to be successful, as even the bad agents are bringing in business. But now as the market turns, you're going to see all of the bottom fishers kind of go away. Yeah. And you're going to see the people left standing are the people that have that grit, determination, work ethic, and in skill. When I got into
I just want to underline that for a second, because it's so good. And people really, you can't say it enough, especially for the team leaders. You're one of the big things, and certainly for our team, is increasing the attrition rate, getting people that aren't going to perform off the team quickly. And so while people may be freaking out that, oh my gosh, this is first of all, it's not 2009. So it's not, oh my gosh, but
but it's a blessing if you're getting into the business now. I mean, you can always look at the half full, half empty. It is a blessing if you're getting into it now, because you're going to, in 5 years, you're going to be the best agent out there.
Yeah. I think it's just a great message. In fact, that's like my next 3 Instagram posts you just gave me, like just to message that communication for people, right? Get in now. I'm writing it down because
it is the best thing that will happen to you. And that's what happened to me in 2009. I have a unique story because I was a stay-at-home mom. I had 6 children. From 1 to 15, I was breastfeeding my baby. I was a college graduate, but I was basically unemployable because I had not been in the workforce nearly 20 years because I was a mom. And I got a call in the middle of the night from a prostitute who had been blackmailing my husband. And to make a really long story kind of short, over the next 6 months, my husband went to a sex rehab clinic, and while he was at the clinic, some terrible, terrible things came out that he had done, and the district attorney got wind of it. And over the next 6 months, he had a very public trial and was tried and convicted and sent to prison for 45 years. So when I got into the market, I was hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. I lived in a 2-bedroom. It was 2009, in the middle of the crisis. I had 6 children. I came from a very poor family. I had zero financial support from my family. I have an amazing family, but when I say at the time, they mostly lived in trailers, and modestly, they would have given me anything, but they had nothing to give me. So I had plan B was plan A, which is you got to figure this out really quick. And so just got my real estate license. And I'll never forget coming home from the courthouse that day, sitting all the children down and saying, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I am your mother. I know what I've been through, the adversity I've faced. I will commit my life to being all I can be to you. And I don't know what that looks like. And I said, we're going to start by number 1, we're going to forgive your dad, and we're never going to say anything negative about him. And I'm going to pick myself up, and, I've got my real estate license, and I'm going to figure this thing out, and we're going to pull together as a family, and we're going to be okay. I'll never forget my oldest son, who now just graduated from dental school. Says, yes, he was 15. So I had a 15, 13, 11, 9, 3, and 1-year-old. So my 15-year-old says, Mom, you do whatever you need to do, and I will help raise my brothers and sisters. And so we went into this. I'm in a 2-bedroom, hundreds of thousands of dollars debt, 6 kids, have no idea how I'm going to meet their basic emotional, much less financial needs. But I was determined not to quit like my divorce attorney suggested and get a real job just because the nation was, in a real estate crisis, because I know what I do know in life. It doesn't matter what is happening to you, what is happening with the market, what is happening around you. You can be successful in any market as long as you're willing to put the work in, and to never give up. And that's what I did. I remember, I'm seeing open houses start to come back on the market because the market is shifting again.
Yes, right. We have some time to market a house. It's great to get all these buyers now.
Yeah. And I remember I would knock on doors, and I would almost beg people to let me list their house. And then when they did, I would not only do what I said, I would over deliver, and they would refer me, and they would refer me. And it just kind of snowballed. It just snowballed.
Well, let me ask you something, Venus, before you go any further than that. I just think it's it's a couple things for, team leaders to listen for. So first of all, your story is ridiculous. First of all, no one should have to go through that. And that you did, and you came out this side this way, is just a massive testament to who you are and to that kind of determination. And that's not, that's a big freaking deal. Okay. And I just don't want to.
So we all have a story. Mine's just my story.
Okay. And yours is pretty unique. And the thing that I think is worth underlining, though, for team leaders, one is, we run into agents all the time that are stopped by circumstances way less than that. They have to have their night job, or they have to do this, and it really, what your story points to is, no, they don't. No, they don't. Yeah. They could actually burn the boats. And that is, you had to burn the boats in a moment. Like, there is no retreating.
Yes.
And when you can, as a team leader, when I can communicate that and have, the people that my agents burn their boats. Yeah. It's a massive shift for people. So there's a contextual thing, because you could have, under those circumstances, gone any number of ways, gotten a real job and been an executive, and the Sarah Whitley from Spanx. I don't remember her last name, but that's one way to go.
Yeah.
But there's that line in the sandness that you
Mhm.
created for yourself. You are not going back.
Yeah.
And that's just so worth recreating. And we can recreate that for our teams. We can create that for people. It's
Well,
not.
and here's what they need to know is I have made millions and millions and millions of dollars off probably 80% no's. And so you got to decide, it's a mindset on what you're going to focus on. If I had stopped my first year in real estate, I made $20,000. And if I had said, okay, I'm not good at this, I made $20,000, I got to get a real job, then I would not be selling $60 million a year now. You have to look at what you're doing right, how you can do it better, how you can perfect it, and it is impossible to not be successful if you focus on what you're doing right and the things that are going in your favor, because it'll multiply. It's only when I give these talks around the country, I tell them the example of my daughter training me to get a six-pack. She says, Mom, I want you to go to the gym with me every morning. I want to get you in shape, and in about 9 months, you'll start to see a difference. And I'm like, what? So she got me up. We went at 5 o'clock every morning to the gym, 5 days a week. I was working out 1 to 2 hours every day. And I remember about 3 months into it, I'm like, I am not seeing anything. I look like the same old Venus. I'm working out and doing everything she said, but the results aren't coming fast enough. And so month 5, same thing. Month 6, I see like the little 1-pack. Month 7, I see a 2-pack. Month 8, I got a 3-pack. And by really 9, 10 months, I've got this incredible 6-pack, but I didn't get it the first month that I tried working on it. The second month, it took a commitment, which is what it takes in real estate. It takes a commitment to be successful. You can't focus on the 6 months where you're doing nothing, because you are doing stuff. You're learning from the things you fail at. So.
Yeah, James Clear talks about it in Atomic Habits. About it's the latent potential.
Yeah.
What you're talking about is you take, his metaphor is just brilliant. You take ice cubes, and if you're in a room of 20 degrees and you heated the room to 25 degrees, you would have increased the temperature in the room by 20%, by 25%. But there's still no change in the ice. It's 25 degrees. And then you go from 25 degrees to 30 degrees. You've added another 20% of heat to the room, and it's still ice.
Yeah.
But you've increase the latent potential. You're just, like Napoleon Hill calls it, 3 feet from gold. It's right. You never know right when you're there. You just got to keep moving. It's great. Venus, what else? Keep going about what, where you're at now and how you've built your business from there.
Well, and the first year I made 20,000. The second year, I think I made 100,000. Third year I made 300. By year 7, I was grossing 7 figures in this business. And I was a single mom. I had, 6 children, and, I had to prioritize. I'd say one of the most important things as an agent, especially a new agent, that you can do is take care of yourself. And that sounds crazy, but I committed to getting up at 5 o'clock every morning and exercising, because the way you treat yourself will affect how other people treat you, your confidence level. And people believe what you say about yourself and what they see about you first off. And so that's the most important thing in any job, not just real estate, to being successful. You dress the part if you want to play the part. But committing to getting up at 5 o'clock and having that discipline, because this job will take it out of you if you let it. You can't lay in bed till 9 o'clock and think you're going to go to the office for 2 hours and be successful and be home by 5 o'clock to whatever. I was getting up for the first probably 6 or 7 years in real estate. I did 3 open houses every Sunday. I was doing 2 open houses every Sunday, even when I was making 7 figures, because why change it if it's not broken? And I'll tell you, people overcomplicate this business. They make it harder than it is. It's a tough business, but they make it harder.
They make it more complicated.
And I'll tell you, I've had people say, I'm not putting that $50,000 buyer in my car. Well, guess what? Then you're not going to be successful.
That's
because
right.
You got to treat everybody with the same respect and dignity, and that catapults. And you will I treat the $50,000 buyer just like I do the $10 million buyer. And it all comes out, in the wash. It works out. One thing leads to another. So my advice to agents is, look at what you're doing right. And if it's not working, do something different. But if you keep at it, you're going to achieve success in this business, no matter what the market is. And you determine what you're worth. In every job, I feel like people think I'm underpaid. Well, you will know what you're worth when you're in real estate, because your bring home pay will be a reflection of the work ethic that you put in.
We always tell our people, you're always winning the game you're playing. The results you get are perfectly consistent with the work you did. You either didn't, the amount and the quality of the work you did is 100% completely correlated to your pay. So if you're, and it's funny because as we're coaching up agents, and I know you can hear this, Venus, I'm sure, you have assistants and people around you, people that are complaining that they're not getting the results. And then they say they're doing the work. Yeah. You ever anyone say they're doing the lead gen and they're not getting the results? And you're like, tell me about your lead. And you investigate and you find out, they've been phoning for 20, actually on the phone for 20 minutes and researching for 40. Right? Yeah. Like, okay. Yeah. Like, no, your results are perfectly consistent. If you do this work, that's what I love about the business. It's really, really simple.
I'll tell you another thing that's important is that you're with a brokerage firm that you respect, and that has a reputation in the market of respect. I've been with the same brokerage company for the whole time I've been in real estate, 12 years now. And they take a large percentage, or people tell me they take a large percentage out of my checks. I don't care, because you know why? They give me the tools to succeed. I sell 60 million a year. Well, I could work for one of these companies where you pay a small fee, and I could get 100% of that commission. But for me, if you sell 60 million and you're getting this percentage, and if I sell 10 million and I'm getting this, I'm way better off being with this brokerage company that gives me the support that I need to be successful, the tools that I need to achieve. And so if you look at the big picture, that percentage is nothing for what I'm getting in return.
It's so important what you're saying, because people on teams get this all the time. We've had countless, I know every team leader listening has had countless people leave teams. Or if you're an agent and you're thinking, I don't want to join a team because there's too many hands in my pocket, they're going to take too much. You're outsourcing. They're not taking money from you. Yeah. You're outsourcing those things, and you're outsourcing the credibility of the team, although you have your own now, clearly, Venus, with the book deal and all that, that's now coming. But you look at those numbers, you look at that outflow, and you go, that was an expense. It wasn't, they didn't take money from me. The government doesn't take money from you. That's an expense. Taxes are an expense. I like roads. I like people being educated. Now,
I do pay a lot of taxes, so that's a different podcast. But
but it's the same deal. I mean, you can either resent it, or you could own it. Yeah. Mindset wise, it's the same. You got to own it, or because resent is going to kill you. Oh, resentment's going to kill you.
Well, and 30 days ago, I had someone approach me because I'm a salesperson, and I never realized I was a salesperson, but they offered me a $2 million signing bonus to come work for them. And at the end of 5 years, I would be compensated several more million. It was and I have so much loyalty to my company and to the security that I have here, and that I love the big overall picture, when's enough money, that I didn't even consider it. And that's what you've got to find when you find the right fit with the brokerage company that you're with. You can do anything you want to do with it. You can achieve anything, and don't be sidetracked by salespeople trying to get I always say there's agents out there that are going to sell you a house, make a quick commission. But if you're in it for long term of the relationship based, you're going to be successful long-term relationship based. The quick people come and go out of your life. So you got to be long-term, and you got to find that company that represents your values, and it'll take you there.
That's great. It's so important to get. That's the power of a team. I know you consider yourself an independent agent. but you're speaking to the value you find of being on the team with
Mhm.
Maybound. Like that's who
Right.
you are. You've associated yourself with them, and that becomes who you are for yourself and who you are in the community. And that's not, you can
There's
put a
one,
price on that.
there's more than one way to skin a cat. My way is not the only, as I rose to success in this industry, I wanted to beat that number one person who hadn't been beaten 25 years. So I'm like, I don't know anybody in the community. I come from a poor family. I'm not in the part of the good old boy clubs. I got it by just working. I could outwork anybody. I might not be the smartest, which I'm pretty smart, but I might not be the smartest. I might not be, but I knew I could outwork anyone. And you can, you really can do this business 1,000 different ways. You got to find what your way is. If that's being a team leader and having 10 people working underneath you, or if that's being Venus and having 3 people be your assistants and a few licensed assistants, or if that's a big company, you can find the model that fits for you based on what your personality is. But the overall message that I have is my model might not be for you, but the team model with agents working under you might be a better fit, but you can find the fit and you can achieve
The principle
limitless
of
of
that.
what you want. Yeah, the principle of, we're all really a team. It's just how do you define team, and you have to figure out how to make the team work for you.
Yeah. And the principle of it, I think what you're speaking to, Venus, is the underlying simplicity of 1 + 1 = 2 in this business. If you do the work, and the work is, you get, what I loved about the business was when I got into it for the first time, I used to own a bakery. I was an entrepreneur for many, many years. And then I went into corporate America for another big chunk of time. And then I got into real estate. And when I got into real estate, my experience was, oh, this is the best of both worlds, because I can be as creative as I want, but I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I'm not selling some new widget, so that I can do open houses. I like you do. I hate open houses. I don't do open houses.
Yeah.
I just don't, because I don't like,
and that's okay.
Yeah. And I don't like putting out the signs, and I don't like doing small talk, but I like events. So I host big events for my, I brought 15 people to see a Mariners game recently. So like but you can find yours. The point is, are you going to work it? Are you going to work it until it produces the fruit? And then are you going to continue to water that tree until you have an orchard, and you have an orchard? You've found your voice in that, which is just brilliant. I love it.
Well, my son told me when I got into the business, because I knew nothing about real estate, and he said, Mama, if you research whatever field you're interested in, within 3 years, if you just spend an hour a day, you'll be an expert. Well, listen, I was fighting for my life, and I knew if I put that cross down, my 7 children would pick it up and have to carry it for the rest of their life. So I was determined not to fail. I spent every second. I got up every morning and I put on a 3-piece suit, and I only had 2. They were cheap. They looked amazing, but no one knew. I put on my suit. I went to the office. I had nothing to do. And I promise you, I found some way to be better every day. And it's a trickle effect.
Yep. Yeah, it's really great. That's exactly right. I think there's people, you got to just put one foot in front of the other. And for the team leaders listening, that's what we've got to instill in our people, and that it's possible that, that Venus's story, that your story, Venus, is not, it's clearly unique, but it is reproducible. Let's just say it that way.
You can replicate it. Yes.
Anyone can replicate that. Anyone does the open houses, does the phone calling, does the door knocking, does whatever it is, but does it sufficiently with enough interest in getting better at it, is going to succeed. I think it's a great message. I think it's the perfect message for us, especially now, given the market shift, for people and looking at getting in.
Yeah. Social media is really powerful. I just sold a $1.7 or $1.8 million house, sight unseen, to somebody in Puerto Rico, cash buyer, sight unseen. So social media is really powerful, and especially the younger generations that are coming into the business now. They really dominate. I've got these amazing assistants who are half my age that just, what I can't do, I can pay somebody to do, and they can just do magic. So it really is limitless what you can do.
It's great, Venus. Fabulous. All right. Well, the last thing I always ask people before we sign off is, what are you reading? What should I read?
What do I read?
Yeah. What do you recommend that I read? What's a good book recommendation or listen to? I only do Audible, but whatever.
Yeah. So I'm kind of a spiritual person.
Mm-hmm.
So I do devotionals every day. I have a little app, Jesus Calling is what I watch. And as far as reading, I really only read like self-help books. And I listen on audio to like Tony Robbins. He's a really great motivational speaker. Mel Robbins, or of course Oprah. Danny Shapiro just wrote a book that I'm about to dive into. That's pretty amazing. So there's
who's Danny Shapiro?
So Danny Shapiro, I did a podcast for her. And long story short, I think she had like a best-selling book on Amazon, and she heard my story off of Humans of New York, and so then she interviewed me on a podcast, and so she just released a new book, and if you go to her Instagram, you can kind of see it. It's called Signal Fires, right here.
Cool.
So that's going to be my next read. It just came out, I think, this week. So she's just an inspirational person who's kind of been there, done that, has great life experience and just wisdom. Even though it's not my field, wisdom is wisdom, and that's what I've said within the real estate industry. Just because they may do it differently, we can kind of learn from each other. But yeah,
fabulous, excellent. All right, well, Venus, I really appreciate you taking some time to stop by and to share. And I think there's just a ton that people can get out of this around their simplifying, getting to work, having the people around them work. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Realtor's Edge podcast, formerly known as the Agency for Agents podcast. Brought to you by Aaron Hendon, best-selling author and managing broker of Christine & Company and eXp Realty. If you like what you heard, consider subscribing wherever you listen to podcasts and share with your community. Aaron can be reached through all social media at aaronhendon.com.